Hi, everyone. The Mike and Dale show today from TradeGATEHub.com, sponsored by TradeView. Uh, Pre-CPI, post-CPI, massive swings in the S&Ps that I'm showing here today, Mike, and I want to go through your trading day before the release and after. I just want to make a point that in the room, if you're in TradeGATEHub, I talked about fading dollar weakness today. It happened after the CPI. The dollar, it was kind of a hot number, so the dollar started off just a shade stronger, and the S&P is just a shade weaker. But then after the release, they sold the dollar off, and cable got to a sell zone I posted in the room of 22.5, took it out a little bit.
Yeah.
And euro got to a sell point up around this 108 level, and has come off pretty dramatically. And even Aussie was another trade I recommended up here at 70.20. So you had 100 pip scalp if you took that too. So
That was posted. Good trade.
yeah,
Yes.
and so what's behind it also is yields, Mike. So you
Yeah.
know the dollar and yields, and we had a test of a breakout line. Here's your daily on yields. And on the pullback, it went right to the breakout of this 10-year yield formation chart. And to me, that looks pretty bullish, which portends higher yields. And I think that's what's contributing to the volatility that we're getting so far in the S&Ps. I told you we'd be glad that we waited to buy miners. Silver's down another 25 cents. So silver's taking it on the chin pretty good. And gold tried to rally, was up $10 and giving it up now, had a low of 1840. So we're getting closer. Not yet. My idea on the GDX was we're still a couple hundred points away. I was figuring we'd get down to 28 to 27. So
Wow.
still sitting on my hands, but down there, I begin to accumulate aggressively. So that's my take on this morning. And Mike, I'm going to turn the screen share over to you. And why don't we start with, what was your thought process pre-CPI? Were you making trades before the release? And I'm giving you the screen.
Was I? Yes, I was. And unfortunately, I was selling some winners. As the market bounces back, I got to take my eye off this. Okay, let me go. We have TradeGATEHub here. Listen,
Okay.
it's still the same. It's still the same. I didn't before. It was a battle between the bulls and the bears at this 4,100 level, Coach. No?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so before I'll show. Let me show the. Well, let me go into TradeGATEHub, and then I'll go to the. It's my obligation, or it's my process. Not to be hypocritical, we got to go through some of the process before I get to live trading, because that fundamentals were nothing. So let me just get into it here. All right, very briefly, guys, great posting, really more than ever last evening. I'm just going to say the theme here, and that the theme is still sticking, and I'm going to give you a peek. Hold on a second at my screen, and everybody posted. Do a very active morning. Okay, and this is it. Let me show you my screen for a second. All right, and this is it. It's still new share. It's still stocks picking. A stock like Global Foundries that I actually sold in the morning very poorly, is acting very well, breaking new highs. The stocks that were acting well yesterday on my screen, everybody knows a stock like FSLY was up, 30% on huge volume. I'll just give you an example of my thought process. The stock actually opened unchanged today, and they continued, they kept taking it up. A stock like Planeteer, who hasn't had a day like this forever, is trading monster volume, breaking out again, just like these other little ones were breaking out. I'm sorry, like Fastly was breaking out yesterday. Looks just the same as so
the low floaters are getting love.
Well, but the rotations, listen, the rotation's evident. They're, in my opinion, the reason why they sold the market a little bit is because the low floaters, or the speculative stocks, still kept going up, and they had a chance to sell them. The mega caps would had a nice run, like Apple, Google, Amazon. Google, I was chirping about it all morning. My first position on Google, and by the way, I'm going to go to an advanced. Let me go to my micro thought in Google because it's a crowded thought. Google's in the center of this chat GPT of how Microsoft and Bing, and that's
Right.
why Google, as opposed to Amazon or Microsoft, for example, is flying. Apple, same thing, and Google, which is the former FANG stock, or one of the best of breed mega caps, is stalling. So it was a crowded trade at the blue line, which is the 50-day. Everybody knows, and I didn't make this up. It's a real intermediate line in the sand for a swing trader or to start a position. You could tell by the 50-day here up on this baby blue line is 93.97. So I said all along, and I started to cringe when I started to buy it under 95. My average cost was about 94. And I felt like it was going to turn into, I was okay with it because I didn't mind this type of trade turning into a position. So I kept, and it just didn't go, and it started to become annoying for me. So where did I sell Google? I started selling Google today in where are my trades? I don't know why my trades aren't here. I sold the stock at like a 34, a 94, and you know what I mean? It's just stock picking. And what was I thinking? I was thinking that the same thing that I always said to TradeGATEHub was the stocks that still worked with relative strength, technicalities, and good volume still worked again regardless. And you know what? Stocks that were acting well, like this CFLT, that had the same similar chart as this Fastly. If this stock broke down, this stock's not going to break down anymore, pending a major binary situation or earnings or some major pin action from the pre-mentioned mega caps.
Above every moving average, making new highs is not a bearish setup right here.
No, but Coach, another one that I mentioned yesterday on the room, and I did preach, if you will, and I'll go back to the fundamentals, long-term plan, the macro view always. Gerard's posting a lot about sentiment and retail trading. I love this. This was a key right here. Okay, we had all the big dogs ready to go, and this is data communicate. You know why? This was the research put out today. There were about 6 things put out there, and when it tells me that there was no research put out on a Tuesday when there was a lot going on, it says no one wants to waste their time in a scenario.
No one knew what to do.
Well, why waste their time? I had plans. The plans were why.
Yeah.
And then when I saw CPI was tame, the SPYs are in a 2-3 point range. Then when everything tamed down and the VIX still negative, I said, now I can concentrate more on stock picking and not worry about the volatility so much. The good thing is it's a Tuesday and this is not happening on a Friday. There's a lot of time to digest. Now, let me give to another macro situation, and I'll give you an example about the SPYs. Here's the chart on the SPYs. You could do it any way you want. It did break out of that bull flag for a minute. Now it's iffy. Now I don't know if the bulls or the bears have the leg up now. It's so iffy.
I think the bears do right now. And for a profit risk reward, we've had several attempts at those highs at 41.80, can't close over 420. And I think that we could pull back to your 2 moving averages there around 395. Under 4. I think under 4.
Yeah, the latter I agree with, about it being more of a profit taking than establishing new positions. And it's evident by the big it's evident by the big daddies. A good number, Apple should be breaking out to going to new highs.
Apple's had a great run. I was wrong. I never thought I'd see 155 about 2 months ago.
I didn't think I'd see 125 2 months ago.
So, but the move from 125 to 55, it'd be kind of normal for it to pull back $15 here, correct half the advance that we've had, and that wouldn't damage Apple. Just a pullback of or even 38%, something. So a little give back in Apple is not surprising. It's probably a buy on a pullback. But,
well, you know what? Listen, they're right on these stock picking moves. A stock like Uber that reported a couple of days ago. Yes, I understand that it's extended, but the only reason why it's extended is it's almost the golden rule of the 8-day. It's still way above all the moving averages. Sans the short-term indicator. So Uber, do I think it's going back to, there's a lot of rotation supporting stocks. Boeing. I
Yeah.
can't, if I mean, I'm chirping about Boeing. I'm not in it, but what's going to stop? I mean, Boeing stock picking
Well, you
again.
know
There's
what? That would be a spec short for me on a 3 drive to a top formation. Your Boeing chart right there. The one that you were showing before you changed it. Wasn't that? There you go. So you have your first drive, you know,
No, I
this
say
see this recent high,
it's a
and now
channel.
look at the RSI reading at the recent
You
high.
taught me, well,
Glaring.
you reminded me of that a while ago, of that RSI trades when it wasn't the RSI trying to necessarily pick a top at 91 or 92 RSI. Yes, it might pull back, but that
Yeah.
new high again when the RSI sits in the 60s or 70s, if you will, right, Coach?
Yeah, it's diverging, not
No,
it's a
no, no.
non-confirmation
That
of
did well for
momentum.
me then.
Price and
So listen,
momentum are diverging.
it's stock picking right now. So let me go back to, and by the way, the spies being in this range from what is it, 409 to 416. I didn't think they got up that high. 416. All right, here we are. By the way, that looks very bearish to me. There's a
Yeah.
gap. There's a head and shoulders. There's even above gap of resistance. But you know
Oh
what?
yeah.
That's why I said to the room, and I'm sorry if I'm getting animated. I want to make my point. And to even something like Paul, who is getting his new here and wants to trade more equities. And
Oh yeah.
if I'm going too fast, I have to make this point because it was a real good one. All right. Okay. I said,
He's a
Paul,
good technician.
this is a time when things feel like a touch euphoric. And by the
Yeah.
way, I said that a couple hours ago, and they did. And to look at which week now. So I said that whatever it was an hour ago, and they did look euphoric. It was only a matter of time. I'm not saying they're going to go, reverse and go down to, 2,000 points, but they were looking euphoric an hour ago. It's 11, 13, 10, 13's right here. All right.
Right.
So give or take, whatever. So I said, Paul, this is a time where you want, as the market's going up, you want to look at stocks that are not going up. What's acting weak? GEO, SEDG, the FSLR. So as the market was going up, these stocks were acting weak. And by the way, if you go here as of 10:15, when I said markets, they were looking euphoric, FSLR at 10:15 was down on the day. It was 163. When the market pulled back, when it did, just as what it felt euphoric here, that was a stock that was negative, weak, had price action and news. Now, granted, it didn't go to one, it didn't break as probably it should have, but that was an example of having relative strength. When the market was at highs, I'm giving you an example of trading 101. When the market's euphoric, look what's not breaking higher, what's at the low of the day. Obviously, we could have gotten more technical and got into Google or even faded Apple or the oils were a fade, blah, blah, blah. But I'm trying to give Paul, a new trader here, an example of what to do in extreme markets of, 9 out of 10 times, write those things down just like I did. The market's getting a little toppy. What's acting weak as the market's getting toppy. You write those
So
down.
they were shorts. So you were trying to teach them that the things that were weak and the market's rallying, that if they rally in sympathy, to short them or to buy them for a bounce. I'm
No,
not quite
when the
clear.
market is at a top at euphoric, and
Yeah.
these stocks are at the low, generally at the low of the morning, as
Yeah.
the market comes down, they're going to come down. They were negative on the day. Tim Fury short red. That's all it was.
Okay. Yeah.
So what
Okay.
I'm
Got
saying
it.
is, as I talked about it all week, stocks like CFLT, ON, TOST, I bought yesterday, your fund that you brought up to me. All right. So hold on, that was on here. I talked all week about CFLT, ON, and Toast. Okay, so let's go to these three. CFLT, I already brought up. I think Gerard's in it. Here's the long term. Had news, volume, range, breakout, bull flag, still acting well as the market. It's even near the high of the day as the market pulled back. TOST I bought yesterday for the fund. Thank you, Coach. Bought that around here 23, and I posted it yesterday. So I added to this. Now, why shouldn't I add to this? Yet
Yeah.
again,
Right.
it's even above the 8-day short day swing
Yeah.
moving average up here of 2363. So it's even above a short-term indicator. So that to me, as the market pulls back, shows relative strength. It's
Could go
also a
to
hot.
30.
What's that?
Could go to 30.
I'm going to add to it today.
Yeah.
Granted, listen, it's important also where the market closes today. I said before that it's good it's a Tuesday, so everybody can disseminate the information and not go wild on a throw darts on a Thursday afternoon or even a Friday afternoon. So there's plenty of things to do. As I said before, to my stock, to my screen, there are stocks with range, good price action. You just have to play sentiment. If something, what I call price action is if the Nasdaq pulls back and CFLT is a Nasdaq stock, acts
And it's
well,
higher.
that's
Yeah,
positive price action.
that
That's it.
is.
So,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
it
fighting
maybe
the,
the
it's
maybe
fighting the
the
flow.
maybe a little bit of the meat of the trade is over. You shouldn't think that way, but it's certainly starting to. If time after time you add to these positions or something like this, what else was I look? Even if Fastly acted well. Fastly was up 28%. Normally, if the market was weak, remember when these low floaters, the one-day wonders
Yeah,
would pull back? Now
yeah.
this stock, now they're caught. This stock hasn't had a level in this in, I don't know, a year. And there's a reason you have to do your due diligence on Fastly. But another one is Net. Net, this is one that they tried. Goldman Sachs had a sell on it today, and it was
Wow.
positive. And
It
that's
looks
when I
like
knew
the
something was up.
prior one. Yeah,
And I did fade it a little bit today. There's my red.
yeah.
Maybe I shorted 800 shares. I wanted to share. This isn't one of these where I went to eight or 10,000. I shorted a little bit, 66.90. Your best
Nice
positions
scalp.
are when they work right away. It worked right
Yeah,
away. So then I
right
shorted a
away.
little bit more at 66.70. I covered at 65. By the way, it went back to 67. I didn't think it was going to go back to zero. I thought the market was a little euphoric. I traded light shares. A real good trader probably would have been buying it on that dip, but I'm just making moves to take
Can't
money out of
catch
the
every
market.
wiggle.
No, no, no. Next, I moved on.
Yeah, great surfers don't try and catch every wave. But you know
No.
what? You actually, my whole idea for our discussion today was it was so two-sided, the markets today, and shows that on a day like this, you're shorting things, you're buying things, and people aren't here looking at what you're saying and all the great content that you provide for your reasons for doing things. It's their miss. They're missing out. So
Well, I appreciate that, Coach. But the thing is, we're transparent, and here's the fear. And by the way, I'm always open. Anybody ask anything? I did short some LVS. I did sell most of my GFS at 72. Although I did sell on the pre-open, as I said, there was a bad trade. Fear and greed index is here, but let me go back to the market for a second and how I take this. Let me go back to my main screen. Is this is good. The fear and greed index, and it might be the antithesis of what you think, Coach. I think this is okay. The more Apple, Google, and Microsoft are negative, the more it equalizes the washout in this euphoria, in my opinion.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Granted, I would rather the big daddies be the ones up and the small ones being down, but
they're rotating out of the mega caps into story stocks. That's what it looks like to me today.
That's right. And semis, by the way.
Oh
Here's
yeah,
ON
semis are still
Semiconductor.
lighting it. Yeah, they're lighting it up
They're
still.
lighting it. ON Semiconductor. If I had $1 for every time, if I was in it as much as I said it, we'd all be retired. Another one.
Yeah, that one looks good.
AMD Nevada pulled up nicely. Here's Nevada.
Yeah,
So they had a chance to blast it. The 2-day down with some volume. There's
yeah,
the volume 2 days ago. But
yeah.
it's still yet to be determined because it still could go. I'm still not I'm sold on this one completely, but it's certainly a stock like GFS. You have to. I'm not sure what's into what I'm going to do with this yet. I don't know if I'm going to re-enter it. I'm going to try to put my ego aside and say I was in it from 66 a couple hours ago, but now I have to buy it at 71. But I have to put my ego aside there. So
Okay.
Uber, they took right back up the 3-day down rule, Coach.
Yep.
Worked. I mean, it had good
Nice.
earnings. Lyft, I sold it yesterday at 10.15. It was a good trade. I didn't care. There's one they're trying to take up. Obviously, there's a dichotomy in Lyft and Uber. I might leave it off at this, if you will. Uber, they
Okay.
had a chance. They ripped Uber from whatever it was, 2 weeks, from 30 to 37. So they tried to do everything in Lyft again, and the complete opposite happened.
Wow.
So you have to be sharp. You know what I
Lyft could
mean?
use a lift.
It's not that it's when I say euphoria, it's not just, load on a bunch of longs and go to lunch in the old days and hopefully you come back and Yahoo's up. You know, the greatest benefit, and coach said that, is maybe I don't hold the winners as much as I should do, but our entry points are best, and our plans are, for a reason for the entry points, are at least one of my greatest acumens in a faster market. Do I know if Google is going to go back to, no, Google does probably go back to whatever, 100. All right. And I'm not going to guy that says, oh, I had a good position in 93 and 94. I knew it, but I don't. That's not what I do. You know, I'm a 5-tool trader, but I think we know by now. And if you don't, let me go back to this, coach, as well. And it's the second greatest amenity we have at TradeGATEHub. The first being it's free. You go back to what we said. I said 4 times today, please go back and listen to what we talked about, which was yesterday, Monday. Coach as well, already with 153 views. Bravo. That's a lot of views, coach.
Yeah, yesterday I set people up for what happened today.
Yeah.
So it was
Oh, is
like
that why? Yeah.
2 days in advance. I was saying, look to buy dollar weakness. Anyway,
Yeah. So there it
you
is.
know,
That's our DNA. You know what I
just
mean?
luck,
You know,
just
this
a
might be
lucky
one.
guess. All we do is make lucky guesses, Mike, you know.
Well, it's, yeah. You know what? There are a bunch of stuff. SCDG breaks high now. MBLI hold. Look at this, coach. Your MBL. The other one you told me to buy was this Mobileye, right? MBLI.
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
That was the same one you told me to buy as toast, this new issue. And I
Yeah.
said on the fun yesterday, let me remind you, I bought MU, GFS, AYX. AYX, here you go. Once, boy, what a cup and handle that is.
For IPOs, follow Kathy Donnelly, and I think that's her Twitter handle.
Sure.
She wrote a book called The Life Cycle Trade. The due diligence phase after the IPO, et cetera. Anyway, that's where I got these issues from her. So I like to give credit where credit is
No,
due.
they were they gave me toast, Mobileye, and what was the other one?
I can't remember.
Oh, ONON, that shoe
yeah.
company. Still
Yeah.
going. I looked at that the other day.
Oh yeah, that's
I
right.
bought that on the dip.
That looks okay.
All right. So a
Yeah.
couple of questions, coach, if you don't mind.
Go.
All right. Fake out. Watch. All right. Do we hold? Job is posting the levels, and Gerard has, of course. Yeah, it's not over for the moment. Gerard was commenting to me about my Cloudflare trade, my net trade. When the real good thing, it's buying strong stocks. Like net would have been a better buy in that dip than fade than short to try to pick that short. And so it looks like that, like Cloudflare, Baidu. Listen, I want to answer everything now. I know it's a CPI day. I know the data is still fresh. It's 11:30 a.m. in the afternoon. It's not like the old days when, it used to die down. But most of the money has been traded. What your edge here is doing the research of why Cloudflare moved up or why Google's still down, or the artificial intelligence stocks, how the oils are doing, why GFS is up, for example. This is, lunchtime is made for research. You know what I mean? Your odds go down. Trust me, I have privy to a lot of retail accounts over the last 20 years. I'm a big numbers guy. It's a time for research. So yes, it might be time for a dip on what Net's doing, but what I'm doing right now is I'm looking at stocks with range, good price action and volume, who has earnings tonight, seeing stocks like Planeteer holding their moves, how TOST is doing things like that. So I don't know if the move is made. Obviously, I'm going to be looking at the VIX, the dollar, the NASDAQ. I'm looking at all the major indices that everybody else is. Nothing, I think, that after a CPI day and a Tuesday that's underneath the hood. It's all there for you. So I'm going to do my due diligence. I'm going to have a plan after lunch, and I'm going to watch Coach's video at 9:30, and I'm going to come back, and that's it. It's Valentine's Day, so I got to run out and get a good gift. So good thing it's a CPI, so I don't have to get the fake perfume at Walgreens and actually go to Ulta Beauty.
Consumer Pleasure Index. So
Yeah,
thank you,
CPI.
Mike. Nice work today, brother.
You too, Coach. Thank you. Feel better. I love it. Looking forward to Thursday. Cheers.
All right, buddy. That's it.